Captioning. So for a spiritual practitioner, there is no relationship more important than the relationship with a spiritual mentor. So I really value any opportunity that I have to learn more about it. And I was fortunate to receive teachings from Venerable Children earlier this month on this topic, which were drawn from the book The Foundation of Buddhist Practice, which is the second volume of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion, which she is co-authoring with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I highly recommend this book if you are trying to get more in-depth understanding of how to properly relate to the spiritual teacher, because this is the most comprehensive information that I've had, or instructions that I've had on this topic since I became a Buddhist. So it's very enriching. So I highly recommend it. It has made a big difference in my practice, in my spiritual life, and how I approach my relationship with Venerable. I spent many years really yearning to have a close relationship with a spiritual mentor. I was really practicing on my own for most of my Buddhist life before coming to the Abbey. And even though I had met some wonderful, amazing, and quite powerful and inspiring Tibetan teachers, I didn't get to have a very close relationship with them. And I really felt that void. So when I found Venerable Children, when I met her, and when I discovered that I wanted to take her as my teacher, I felt both happy and terrified at the same time. All my issues with authority figures and my insecurities and fears just kept calling, and I really had to work with my mind to try and work through them. I still work with my mind around these issues, but it has become a lot easier. So I would just want to share a little bit about my experience and what I have learned, in case that it's helpful to anyone else. One of the things that we talked about during our class on the relating to a spiritual mentor topic was that it's easy in this age of technology to access the Dharma online and to think that that is enough to become a proficient practitioner, or to even understand what it is like to relate to a spiritual mentor. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. If we limit ourselves to that, we are really depriving ourselves of the richness and the benefits of forming a student-teacher relationship. So our teachers not only share the Dharma with us, but they also act as role models, and they show us areas where we need to grow and improve and develop, and provide ample opportunity for self-examination, whether we like it or not. The book goes over a number of benefits, and chapter 5 is the chapter that I am referring to, and I'm going to read just a few, and then I'm going to talk about my own experience. So, what are some of the benefits? Our thoughts and words will become more virtuous because we will follow our spiritual mentor's advice. I have really found that this to be true in my own experience. Since I moved to the Abbey, I noticed how my conversations really revolve more about the Dharma, and how my perspective of life and the world and society really is much more grounded on the teachings. Because they show us how to act ethically, we won't bring suffering on ourselves or others, which really saves us a lot of grief, not only in this life but in future lives. We will complete the 2 collections of merit and wisdom and attain full awakening by following reliable teachings. This is so hard to do on our own. I myself found having a hard time even discerning what was virtuous and non-virtuous when I was trying to practice on my own. So I know that it's taking a lot of Venerable's guidance to discern that more clearly. And then we will be able to work for the benefit of sentient beings, including those who have entered the wrong path. So those are only just a few of the benefits listed in the book. But in regards to this last one, I know that for me, offering service at the Abbey really has meant for me an opportunity to connect with sentient beings, to repay the kindness, to connect with them in a virtuous way rather than around non-virtue, which was a hindrance before I came to the Abbey. So these tremendous benefits, really, when we contemplate them carefully, really show us that nurturing, cultivating, and carefully managing our relationship with the teacher has incredibly positive benefits for ourselves and for others. From my own experience, learning to navigate has been challenging, but it has helped me mature in many ways. The first thing that I had to do was redefine the meaning of kindness. I really thought that kindness was about stroking my own ego, about people encouraging me to do whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it, about providing me with a lot of praise and approval, and never, ever, ever talking about my mistakes or my shortcomings. But when I got here, what I found was the opposite, really. So I had to stop and think, how am I relating to this definition of kindness? What is it truly to be kind in the context of the relationship between a spiritual mentor and a disciple? And that's when I realized that in this particular context, kindness refers to providing the conditions for attaining good qualities and abandoning all negativities. How are we going to do that if someone more experienced and knowledgeable does not help us by pointing us where we're going wrong? I mean, it would be very, very difficult to do it in the absence of that. So I had to come to terms with the fact that having a spiritual mentor meant that the kindness that I'm receiving bears no resemblance to the kindness that I was expecting or the kindness that I was used to outside before coming to the Abbey. But that tremendous amount of kindness is exactly what points us to the path and what helps us stay on the path, even when we face difficulties. And so, because of this great attachment that I discovered to praise and reputation, I also had to stop and analyze, where is that coming from, and is that in my own long-term best interest? And of course, there was a lot of dissonance, because here it is someone that I consider a spiritual friend, and yet that person is not acting within the framework of friendship that I'm used to. And instead of praising me, they're pointing out my faults. So this really showed that my framework of friendship does not work when trying to cultivate a spiritual life. So it was better to begin to let go of that and instead put all my attention in transforming my mind, in using the feedback that I was receiving from my spiritual teacher to find ways to transform my mind onto the path, which is exactly what she's wanting me to do, what she's pointing me to. And confronting my insecurities was also a big issue. My confidence in the past and my sense of value and self-worth was based on external cues. And then coming here, I really have to shift to bring that to be more internally referenced. And so I really have noticed how in doing that I've become stronger both internally and externally. Something that I would have had a very hard time to do otherwise. Because that sense of confidence and self-worth is derived from my own practice, from my own application of the teachings and my own development of ethical conduct. So, in short, in brief, why do I value my relationship with my teacher? And so I value it because she points out my faults, because she tells me where I need to work on to become a better practitioner, to become a better human being, to achieve my goals, my spiritual goals. Because my buttons get pushed daily, and if that didn't happen, I wouldn't know where they were, and I wouldn't have a chance to work on them, to overcome them. Because she has given me an opportunity to redefine how do I approach the world, how do I view kindness, how do I view myself as a spiritual being rather than an object, of praise, an object of desire, an object of jealousy, or some in any other context than what it is that I truly want to achieve, which is spiritual growth. And lastly, because she shows a very clear example of how to practice. When I was practicing by myself, my practice was narrower and shallow. I lacked opportunities for deep self-examination, which are very abundant now. And for that reason, it was a lot easier for me to stagnate and become complacent. And therefore, it was a lot harder to practice. As His Holiness said in the book, The Foundation of Buddhist Practice, the closer that we become to our spiritual mentor's mind, the more that we practice, the closer we become to our spiritual mentor's mind and the Buddhist mind. And that's exactly what I would like to do.